Hello, just a quick one. Can anyone of you just let me know if you can hear me? Just getting on this conversation quite briefly, and then we intend not to stay that long. Just let me know if you can hear me. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, to start with, we couldn't be back here to give you discussions as for how the testimonies were getting on with the who killed the cops, simply because we had a lot of things going on the past week, and we didn't have time to really be here. But a couple of things that stand out that we would have to look at today is what we've been advocating for since the beginning of the case, that we expect that the government officials who had come out to make very big allegations against Hussein Obojang would be subpoenaed to court, and of course their videos and audios will be played to them to listen, and of course make justifications as per why they got to such conclusions and why they made such very expensive allegations that would or probably might have repercussions, even if not during this regime, but someday. And to start with, we were very clear from the beginning that DIG Sow, Sankare, Abubakar, Suleiman Jeng, all of these people had no evidence whatsoever to say whatever they said. Everything they said was a prefabricated script by the regime that killed the cops to frame the United Democratic Party, and that has been evidently established, unless if you don't have a mind to think, or if you don't want to think, or if you deliberately just want to support the regime in its criminality. Now, the entirety of this case has revealed only one thing: the government in every aspect has been concealing and hiding any and every traceable evidence in the case. The focus of this conversation will be looking at these three folks who were subpoenaed to court and what they had said in court. Now, one thing that is very common among all three is that everything they had said was based on nothing, wasn't based on any preliminary investigation report. It was primarily based on what they called, verbal intel. Now, a government that is expected to employ the best from our societies, to be the ones to run our government, to be the ones in our state house, are basically the folks who really have no clue whatsoever when it comes to criminal investigation and public information dissemination. Because first, Sankare, as the government spokesperson, not a police officer, not a police investigator, should not in any way rely on just a verbal telephone call, a verbal conversation with whosoever in the police force to go out there and make those very, very expensive allegations against Hussein Obojang. He does not have any investigation report. There was no preliminary investigation report handed to them. There was no documentation given to him. Everything that he said was actually based on somebody told me. But who runs a government on somebody told me? Who runs a government on the police told me? Who runs a government without proper documentation that they all came to court and they could not provide a preliminary report, investigative report that suggests everything they had said to the media? But just to come to the media or just to come to court and tell people that everything I had said was basically from police intel. But which police officer told you? No police officer could be named. Oh, every police officer told you? Over 10,000 police officers told Sankare everything he had said? Hell no. So that means these are individuals who criminally connive to actually, kind of put another person in trouble for no good reason. The whole point now is that Jang never had a preliminary report. The police DIG had no preliminary report. Sankare had no preliminary report, but Sankare told us that the preliminary investigation report suggests that this particular person works in Brikama Area Council. He could not provide any evidence to that in court. And of course, everything they had said they could not provide any evidence for. That tells us just a single thing, that the government of the Gambia masterminded the killing of the cops. But funnily, Sankare deliberately refused to tell us who told him everything he said in the police, and he said he spoke to the police, and then it is the police department. But DIG saw again threw Sankare under the bus again, because Sankare thought he's intelligent, but he's one of the dumbest folks that I've ever seen in the Gambia. If not for his verbosity, there is nothing in him. And then I listened to him a couple of days ago, and I will get to that, where he talks about submitting his PhD dissertation somewhere, and then he was giving some corrections to do, and while doing that he got a job and he could not do that here and there, and those professors left the university here and there, and he could not finish that, and he had resubmitted a particular thesis document to India where he's trying to pursue it. That we will get to, but first let's focus on what exactly he told us and what DIG kind of threw him under the bus. Because if DIG came and said he knew nothing about Sankare's statement, that if Sankare said he spoke to the police, DIG is asking the question, which police officer did Sankare speak to? DIG was also asking the question that we have 10,000 police officers, so whom within the police force did he speak to? That he knew nothing about Sankare's statement. But DIG, you know nothing about Sankare's statement, but it was the police, the Gambia police force, that took full ownership of Sankare's statement. And at the time you are DIG, or probably the de facto IG at the time when the IG had traveled, and you people took full responsibility for everything Sankare said. So who among you said it to him? So if the police took full responsibility, that means it's the police command that told Sankare everything that he said. Because if it is not the command, and if it is just any ordinary police officer, how comes the police take full responsibility for everything that Sankare said? But DIG, under oath, you came again to court to lie, because it is complete fabrication and clear lies that you cannot tell us that you never knew anything about what Sankare said. But the institution you work for as second in command took full responsibility and ownership of everything Sankare said. You want to tell us that you go to work without knowing what you have to do? Or you go to work as a police officer or as a senior police officer not knowing what exactly is happening in your institution? Is that what you want to tell us? I bet no. But the fact of the matter is that you knew very well that Sankare said everything he said, and everything he said, you said it to him, and knowing that everything you said to him were complete fabrications and lies, and then you came to court and claimed that you did not know anything about what Sankare said, and then if he said he spoke to police officers, you have over 10,000 police officers. So, of course, the onus lies on Sankare to tell which police officer that he spoke to. So Sankare probably, you again deceived, dribbled him, just for you people to agree that none of you should mention the person who actually gave them the information, on pretense that, of course, it is going to be, it will have an impact on our, intelligence or security. But there is no intelligence in this case. It's a mere fabrication by you people in government. Because if the entire police force took full ownership of everything that Sankare said, DIG so cannot come to court and say he knew nothing about what Sankare said. That's a blatant lie. But of course, a man without oath was lying to the entire public, and of course, under oath was lying again. What do you expect from such a man? That everything Sankare said, and the police took full responsibility and ownership of his entire statement. But the IG saw who was the de facto IG at the time, who was the mastermind behind all of these things that were happening at the time, who was the one speaking on behalf of the police, claimed that he knew nothing about it. But of course, he knew nothing about Sankare's, whatever Sankare said, but Sankare mentioned his name, that he actually kind of, put in some money to be given to the families of the deceased. I mean, Sankare was in close contact with DIG So, and everything that Sankare said was told to him by DIG So, and we know that very well. But Sankare came to court and deliberately refused to tell the person who told him. And the same Sankare I would focus on. You went back to Peter Gomez. You people keep telling people that, it's a matter before the court, or we shouldn't talk about it. Of course, I am not a subject to the case, but Sankare, who was subpoenaed by the same court, is a subject of this particular court, went back to Peter Gomez and was talking about this particular case, and in a way trying to caricature the, the defense counsels, saying that, of course, they might have, monopoly of the law, but not language. They were trying to put things that he was lying, which is not true. Sankare, you are a pathological liar. Because if you're not a pathological liar who in government, in his right mind, saying you're pursuing higher education to the level of PhD, but yet you do not understand that you cannot rely on just verbal information to go and make such allegations against an individual you have no clue about. That you could not wait for the police to finish their investigation and give you an investigation report to rely on that particular report to disseminate information to the public. But of course, you have that very okra mouth that you can just jump and say what without actually considering the consequences of your actions or your speech. But one part I want to focus on, which makes it very interesting. You said your 90-year-old mother is happy that you're going to pursue your PhD. That people talk a lot of shit about you, but you're very happy that there are still good people who call you, praise you for the good work you're doing. And of course, your mother is praying for you every day. Sankara, your lies have put another mother in jail. Do you respect women? Or you respect your mother, but of course, you do not understand that your lies, propaganda, and deceit has put another mother in jail for almost 2 years for a crime she knew nothing about. So sometimes when you speak, you do not consider your actions and the repercussions and of course the impact it has on other people. But of course, you are happy that your mother of a 90-year-old is home and still able to pray for you, not knowing that another woman whose children probably are way younger, 5, 10 or whatever, is languishing in jail for something that you and your co-conspirators, I would call you, alleged her of that she knew nothing about. But you're happy that your own mother could be praying for you. Dissertation or submit janale, they ask you to do correction. They fucking rejected your dissertation because probably it's not up to standard. It doesn't happen in any PhD program that you are actually, probably, when you write a research, you go there, you submit it, and of course, if your professors feel that, of course, you need to do a couple of corrections, they send it back to you to do whatever you got to do. And of course, until you get, that approval at the level of your professors, you do your internal defense, and they realize you definitely worth a degree, and they will, of course, organize a defense for you. You never got to that level. That means you submitted scrap or you submitted nonsense, and they realize that you got to do a whole lot of improvement. You could not do the improvements, and then you could not really continue with the program, and you kind of dropped out of it, and then you're now claiming that the professors, after a couple of years, those professors left here and there. Professors leave, but the department and the institution stays. So if your professors leave, what they could do is they will reassign you to other professors. That is not what happened, because you could not probably meet the threshold of the university. You could not put up a dissertation that is worthy of a PhD title, and of course you have to go to flimsy universities elsewhere to probably get a title. We know what's going on because we all been in academia, so don't brag about it because it doesn't make any sense. You came out there and then clearly told us that you could not pass. That's just exactly what you meant. That you wrote about Femi Peters or whatever, and then you submitted it, or whatever name you mentioned, at Peter Gomez, and then you're trying to even caricature, the defense counsels, not knowing that they have exposed your verbosity and, deceit and your continuous lying to the Gambian people on matters you have no clue about. And this particular matter is going to bring you people to your knees, because one day, when this government ceases to exist, Sankara, you might find yourself in jail for the lies and propaganda you've run against a family that did you no wrong. Or you're happy to have your mother at home. How about if somebody picked your mother and put her in jail now? Sankara, like kendulen fi mai dara. But Abubakar Jeng, who is basically, a national security advisor, a whole national security advisor who could not wait on his desk to wait for a report to come from the police indicating that this person did this, and this is the preliminary investigation report, and this is the conclusions of what we found out thus far. But of course could rely on hearsay and just to jump and actually tell people that there were CCTV footages, and to be asked in court about the CCTV footage, he said, I never saw it and never, had any clue about it. But then you went out there to say it. You made a statement about the CCTV footage. You said that the dude was a rebel. He acquired a weapon from the Casamas rebellion. And now you're telling us that everything about that was based on verbal intelligence. Intelligence from who? That is how you people run a government? This is how you run a country? This is how the security apparatus of our country has been? But the fact of the matter is that this particular case is a crime that was, of course, conceived within, and of course, masterminded within and executed within. And the good thing is that after the three of you were invited to court and you clearly tell the Gambian people that everything you said was not based on anything, it was based on just mere words of any fabricator, that you people went out there to lie to the Gambian people, and now you cannot defend your own lies. We've written to the international community, the government of the United States, the government of the United Kingdom, all over the world. We've written to all those international partners so that they can pay attention, close attention to this particular case that is ongoing in the Gambia. Because we know how you people injected your politics of deceit into it in trying to actually frame the United Democratic Party with all your propaganda and lies. We also know that you did not investigate this matter from the beginning. You went there and fabricated a whole script and came out to give those scripts. And now you cannot even tell us why you had to format the young man's phone. That you could be brought to court and then your video will be played for you, and then you'll be asked to listen to yourself and then asked to justify why you said what you said. And Sankari, now you want to praise this government by calling that, oh, that is democracy. And when they said, oh no, we are not going to come to court, I protested against that, and then of course I said I will come and testify. You will come and testify because that's the only option you got, because someday we will put your ass in jail. You all can just jump and say, no, you don't insult people in government. We will. Because you do not understand the trauma and the pain you've inflicted on this family, and you don't know how much trouble they're undergoing. Oh, but you're very happy that you got your 90-year-old mother at home who can basically pray for you. But you do not care that you're putting another lactating mother in jail who basically did you no wrong, simply because of your fabrications, greed, and desire for power, simply because you want to continue this self-perpetuation and, of course, inflicting pain on Gambian people just for your own interest, and telling us that, of course, since the days of Yahya Jammeh, you spent 20 years talking about dictatorship. What is worse than killing serving officers while you sit in your office and then, of course, frame another person without any evidence for 2 solid years? Tell me if that was your mother put in jail for 2 solid years, if you would like it. Oh, you brag about, yeah, if people dislike you, you don't listen, you don't hear what they're saying here and there. Sankara, you hear what we're saying. That is another lie. Because why did you say that you don't actually follow media? You don't actually, follow anything that has been said about you people here and there. But you told the court that you went back to listen to that interview. Where did you get the interview? Because the interview was actually put on the internet. So if you tell us that you don't actually got in the web, that is not true. You follow everything that has been said about this government simply because you're the government spokesperson. It doesn't even make sense for you to tell us that President Adama Barrow paid your fees to go and do your PhD, but at the same time he retains you as the government spokesperson while you are out of the jurisdictions and you are not in the Gambia, you are not replaced, and of course probably you're still being paid salaries. How could you be working for the government of the Gambia virtually? You are talking, you don't even know what you're talking about. And you talked about other people who were permanent secretaries and they left those positions, they left and then went to work. When they were leaving, they took leave of absence. So did you take a leave of absence? Probably tell us that. If you take a leave of absence, and then of course, let us know. Or if you're still the government spokesperson, because since you left for India, you were still writing on behalf of government of the Gambia. Do you want to tell us that you are working for the government of the Gambia from overseas? You're the spokesperson of the government who is a student at the same time? Just like we had a couple of people who were more or less key in the senior management of the University of the Gambia at the same time, students of that same university. What kind of nonsense is that? This is how you people want to be running our country? That you can have a director in a university at the same time a student in that same university. What nonsense is that? These are the kind of things that keep happening in our institutions, that somebody could claim that he's the government spokesperson who is a student somewhere in India. What is happening in the Gambia? You are out of the jurisdiction, but you're still paid salaries, and then you are the spokesperson of that same government. This is how Barrow has reduced our country to. As if this is the only person who can actually handle this position, and there is no other competent Gambian to do so, who is nothing but an ordinary student who could not pass a dissertation test somewhere else and then had decided to resubmit it elsewhere so that he can get an easy pass and then, of course, get a title. They're only bothered about titles. It's not about the intellectual capacity. But of course, the intellectual nothingness is what would lead somebody to go and give an entire press conference or go and give an entire interview about something that he has no paper or documentation for. So the likes of Sankare do not deserve to be in village VDCs, let alone to actually be running our state house. And of course, to come out there to brag about their mothers being home and being able to pray for them when their actions have put other people in jail for nothing they know anything about. So the whole fact now is that, of course, we've written to the international community to pay closer attention. We've written to foreign governments to pay closer attention to this particular case. And of course, we've indicated clearly, the potential government complicity in the matter, and as well as, the fairness of the investigations, and as well the tortures and of course human rights abuses that Hussein Bojang had undergone. So all of these things are records to be kept. Even if not during this regime, another will come and there will be justice delivered. The whole point is that DRG so thought he's intelligent that he could not tell who actually told, where he got all his intelligence and all his, fabricated scripts of lies and deceit that, okay, I use quotes here and there. You were asked to bring the quotes, you could not bring the quotes. But funnily, you were asked if you were under any pressure internally or externally to say what you said, because everything you said is a lie. And you evidently and clearly said no, you were not under any pressure, you were not under any influence. You know what that did? I mean, tomorrow, if there is a commission and you are called, bro, you said this and this and this, you fabricated this entire script, what would you say? Were you under any pressure by a government to say what you said? You already said no, bro. You are not under any pressure. That means everything that you said it at will and at liberty. Because at the end, so you will have your day with justice. If already this bringing you people to court, subpoenaing you to court is not enough, if that is not really, enough shame on you people, what's Sankare to go back to Peter Gomez, who seemed to be another nincompoop, to talk about all kind of shit, trying to discredit the court, trying to discredit, the language of the court, and of course trying to discredit, the defense counsels. But you can tell how these conniving criminals and idiots in our, media would actually be behaving. We're not going to spare anybody. You all are the same because, birds of the same feather flock together. That's why you give them the platform to come and lie against Gambians, and remorselessly they come back there to talk shit about those people. Of course, if they're happy and then you people were, kind of caricaturing those people and laughing about it, forgetting that innocent people are in jail, that your actions and your wordings would go for a lifetime, on them. That you have actually destroyed a family out there out of your own disgusting behaviors and criminal mentalities. And you still go back to the media and then you're smiling and laughing about, your shamelessness. Because if you have any shame, you basically wouldn't be talking in the Gambia again. Having been particularly for on the media to get on the court being at an occasion in Kaitala and Yimpoya with La Mundalila Kamandalil Sotal. It ain't Moronkorangi, you go and basically sit on the media trying to tell people that, oh yeah, that is democracy, that you were happy to go to court, and of course trying to caricature, the defense counsel. But of course you're part and parcel of this case. Why are you then going to the media to talk about the case? If the rule is that you cannot be part of a case and still be talking about it, but if you're subpoenaed, then you are part of it, and then you still go to the media to talk about it, and of course talk about it in a negative way against the people that subpoenaed you to come there, and then of course confirm that everything you had said were all fabricated, stories of lies and deceit. Atolo nyanta na Afrika Gambiano no mako warala Gambiano lo tora kono lo wara ri bulu tan ko mala ina mona ko molon ko tunko na suluo eta mam mala man sele ka sika ka molde ko eta bala duade de jumala bala man duede mala bala dimo. That you can actually put people in jail from your own wordings and still come to the court to lie, shamelessly go to a media house and try to brag that, of course, your mother prayed for you. But of course, because of your actions, another mother is put in jail because you think you have power, you have authority. Humble yourself. Respect people and humble yourself. If you can't apologize to these people for all your allegations, and you can still come out and then with that braggadocio lifestyle and try to make it look like you know what you're doing, nigga, you know nothing about what you're doing, because someday you will be held accountable for all your actions and doings and sayings. Allah mansa kundale police all of ni what diata le bialata not man diale fanang, you will take it. You cannot change the narratives. and the desperado within government in trying to get everybody because you think you're going to win. Even if you win, ECOMIC will withdraw its forces, and then we will see where we will get on with you people. And the real real because adulta sila kom masakunda min diara to le ko tamani wandi molukang adol ko mote fem fola to le water because min diara to ratol ko like. And then you still have the guts to tell us that, oh, the former regime was bad and you think this is good. Oh yeah, we were able to go to court, but who actually killed the cops? Can you tell us that? If it is not the regime that definitely did kill the cops for your own evil intentions, of course self-perpetuating, and of course going against the United Democratic Party by whatever means possible. That is why one of your ministers said, even if it was killing, you will do so. And that's exactly what you did in this case. You people killed the cops in a cannibalistic act of the police force led by that stupid idiot, DIG, who had the audacity to come to court and say, oh yeah, I did not hear anything about what Sankara said. But ladies and gentlemen, the good thing would be that now that you've subpoenaed all these 3 people and they've came, and of course everybody now knows that everything they said was a lie. It was not based on any intel. There was no documentation for it. It was just to say, oh yeah, Carla fonya. Atol kama sakunda ron Carla fonya. Ko karnyo wala fonya afu alkal tol fonga tofala. Omange wulian in fani yaken sengol. But on top of it is that this one of the soldiers that you said witnessed the event, your coached witnesses is also subpoenaed to come there and of course to testify. But after that, the good thing would be that Mama's audio, I'll come in filter, the incriminating audio that you people said is lost. The defense counsel should be able to bring that audio to court and of course get transcriptions for it, and then of course subpoena Mama to come back to court and verify if that is her audio or not, if that is her voice or not, and of course ask her if she is a staunch supporter of the NPP or not. And that will also bring you evidence to say that there are potential, there are possibilities of this woman, because of her love and support for the president, to frame this dude, of course, so as to get the government out of the case. On top of it, she came to court and said she lost the audio, so that audio is found. So because the audio is with everybody, so the defense have the right to bring that audio and of course to bring Mama to court to say, verify that this is your audio, and if it is her audio, or even if she refused it is her audio, they need to verify, they need to get an expert to confirm that that voice is Mama's voice and that audio is an authentic audio, and then it should be one of the exhibits in court for determination, because there is no part of that audio where Hussein Obojang talked about killing the cops. And then now that everything DIG so had said is now put to zero, now the only depending thing as per why they suspected this person to do, they could not even tell us the motive. When this guy was asked, were you able to establish the motive of this person killing the cops, he said no. So even the court did not determine, the prosecution could not determine the motive. And now the people who came out to actually allege him in those press conferences said they did not know what the motive is. So that means there is nothing whatsoever that has linked Hussein Obojang to the case. So that means the fabrication of the regime was basically to hide its face. That it is clear that the regime's hands are stained with blood. So the only thing they could do is to look for somebody to put this particular case on. And now that they could not succeed in all of that, they had to be brought to court by subpoenaing them, and all the things they could say was to come and lie to the teeth again, that every Gambian, old and young, knew that these folks are lying and that this dude has nothing to do with it. At this stage of this case, it's no longer about proving Hussein Obojang's innocence. It is more about determining who killed the cops. And at this level, it is clear to all of us who possibly would have killed the cops. And they cannot run away from that. And we will not shy away from saying that. So Sankara need to know that. But this is how they're running our government, just creating positions for people. Of course, you left government to go and study. That means you need a replacement. That position should be kept like that until you finish your PhD. What nonsense is that? Or you got to be a PhD student elsewhere. At the same time, you keep an active government position in the Gambia when you are not even in the Gambia, when you are not living in the Gambia. And of course, which is not a position that is a virtual position. So, Nguri Baro, what exactly is it doing to Gambians? That is basically how fairness operates in the Gambia. That is how justice and that is how governance is in our Gambia, in our country. But that brings us to the criminal justice system of our country. I wouldn't talk about the whatever Tulu oil or whatever oil or Russian oil, whatever thing and all that. We're just focusing on one thing: who killed the cops? Who really did? You can increase prices and inflate everything here and there, steal our money, do whatever you want to do with the Gambian economy. Look, sell the country if you want, but who killed the cops will be determined. And of course, Hussein Bojang will definitely have a day of reckoning with all of you, and justice will prevail someday. So to shamelessly come back to West Coast Radio, and I think the judge in his wisdom should be able to kind of charge you of contempt of court, because you cannot go there to kind of try to discredit the defense counsels. And turns out they wanted to make it look like I was lying. Dude, they were not trying to make it look like you were lying. You were fucking lying. And it's quite evident that you were lying against the young man, because you cannot even prove any of the wordings you said. And then all that you can rely on to say, oh, I said allegedly. You said allegedly. Now, where is the document that you relied on to actually say what you said? You did say that, of course, it was a preliminary investigative report that suggested all of those things. Where is the report? Oh, it's not a written report, it's a verbal report. And you depended on a verbal report to go and make such high level allegations against a young man, knowing fully well that those allegations could destroy his life altogether. That's basically what you mean by your mother prayed for you to be lying to people like that? And you have the guts to brag about, oh yeah, you've been fighting dictators. What is worse than what you people are running our country on? What is worse than killing serving officers, and then as gruesome as that, criminal cases, but of course masterminded by the regime, and you had the audacity to be the main spokesperson to go and lie about a young man that you know nothing about without any evidence whatsoever, but just to claim that, oh no, but I only said allegedly. But ku killing them and the jagal wala nyinto police wali ato la molofa ayala niyokuya atata wala sangadula, you cried the loudest. Felt like you, of course, so much disgusted by the actions of this particular mother. 1 year ahead, you people went and did a 1 year remembrance for those folks. But IGP, you were asked to come to court, you were subpoenaed to court, you deliberately refused to come to court. The police as an institution refused to come to court on matters that relates to the killing of its own men, because the police actually lied about the killing of its own men. So who actually killed the cops? Who stationed this young man at this particular place? If the police is very serious, you could go to those people's 1 year anniversary, you could go to their funeral, you can organize yourself, and of course say all kind of things about these people, acting like you really care, but you don't care because you kill them. Those folks will be in their graves thinking that we wear the uniform of our country, thinking that we are going to work for our country, not knowing that we are going to work in the midst of criminals and murderers who will kill us, and of course politicize our that and try to make it look like it's other people, yet be the loudest at our funerals, and of course organize ceremonies in our name as remembrance a year after, but just for them to refuse to go to court to tell what exactly they know about our killing, and of course to provide audio recordings or video recordings of press conferences they had done, and that is now a subject of determination in court, knowing fully well that everything they had said were fabricated scripts of lies and deceit, and who are probably the potential masterminds of our killing. Tabang. Those are the kind of things that we basically need to have conversations on. And the entire country can't be silent about it. So going forward, what is going to happen is that now that it's clear that Hussein Bojang had no hand in the killing of the cops, and it is also very evident that the government had everything to do with the killing of the cops, and then it's very, very obvious that someday, somehow, there will be justice even without this government. You know, because this government will not establish the truth in it. It's just like how Koro Sise died in the hands of the military, who were the loudest at his funeral, and at the same time, you know, were more or less the perpetrators of that heinous crime. So this is just a replica of that same episode. They killed these folks, were the loudest at their funeral, and of course organized a remembrance for them, and then refused to go to court to tell what they know. They did everything to conceal and hide every traceable evidence, and all of these things we've explicitly mentioned, you know, to the international community, that they formatted Usain Bojang's phone, and they did not stop at that. They called him a rebel, and they could not justify any of those. And of course, the suits did not fit and all that. The tortures that he complained about while in police custody, all of these things are clearly, you know, mentioned in the letters sent out to the international community. And Barrow's government, if you want it in the courts, of course, the lawyers are doing the needful. In every sphere that you want to take this case, we will meet you there. So, the most important thing is that at every level, as determined as you are, we are 10 times more determined to ensure that the Gambian people deserve nothing but the truth when it comes to the killing of the cops. The families of these folks deserve nothing but the truth, you know, when it comes to this case. The families of the people you incarcerated falsely deserve nothing but the truth. And of course, the entire country deserves nothing but the truth, because these folks who were killed were in our national colors. So they do not belong to their families. They belong to the Gambia because they were working at a time for the Gambia. And it was during, you know, work hours of working for the Republic of the Gambia, wearing Gambian colors, that people actually killed them. And of course, the people who killed them are probably their superiors, who knew everything about their death and then still lie to the Gambian people about the death of this young man. So at this point in time, it's important that we involve the international community. After having this, you know, liars and propagandists of the government came out to testify in the case and could not actually tell, you know, anything, you know, truthful about what they had said to the Gambian people prior. So now that all of those things are established, we will inject that angle to it, and then of course we will bring international attention to the we'll bring international attention to the case. Not sure what my daughter is misbehaving, man.